And yeah, over to you, Jeremy.
Brilliant, thank you, Steve. Oscar, I am loving that new background that you've just set up now. Either that or you've gone back outside and your back garden is much more impressive than all of our back gardens put together. Anyway, as much as I'd love to talk about that, welcome everybody. It's been a while, hasn't it? So we last all met up face to face as Brighton are in January, which was our first meeting, and we hope they would be quite regular. We planned one for April. Something happened. I think we all know what that was. And so we had to delay it a bit. But now we are here online. And rather than all meeting up in a nice massive room, we're all coming from the comfort of our own homes as well. So we've set an action-packed afternoon for you today. And if this screen wants to work and actually move on, there we go. We have set an action-packed afternoon for you today with the promise that you'll all be away by 5:30 as well. So we're going to try and stick to that with the timings. Just a couple of pieces from me up front. Don't worry, I won't run on for too long. Steve will mute me if I do, he's already said. And then I'll pass over to Steve, who'll tell you a little bit about our sponsors for this event, Silicon Brighton. Then we've got David giving us a presentation on Shiny, which I am really looking forward to. More on that later. And we've got Jack from Mango, again, staying on the visualization theme, almost talking to us about ggplot. We'll end with a couple of our announcements, and then we're going to stay on for a little bit, a few of us from 5:30 onwards. No obligation, but anybody that wishes to stay, network, ask more questions, talk about R, anything like that, then feel free to do so. So just a bit on intros. I'm Jeremy. I'm one of the founders and organisers of Brighton R. You'll see Simon, who's also online, is another one of our organisers. I'm sure he'll give you a wave. I'm not sure if the others are here. I know Fergus can't make it today, and I haven't seen Paul online yet. But if you're there, Paul, give everybody a wave and a nod or something like that. I'm also the head of data science at Rocket Mill, a marketing agency in Brighton. So obviously, I don't do Brighton R as my day job. I have other things, and I spend my evenings coding in R as well with my 4-year-old son, who I'm sure will make an appearance later on. Just a couple of pieces, I think we've been through them already. If everybody could keep themselves on mute during the talks. Steve mentioned that our talks have been pre-recorded, the two main events of this big Brighton R that we're looking at today. But if you could keep yourselves on mute, if you have any questions, please type them into the chat. And at the end of the talk, I'll put the questions to the speakers. That way it just avoids so many people coming off mute at once, 5 or 6 people all trying to talk and everybody getting confused. So if you could keep yourself on mute, that would be great. Obviously for the networking at the end, please do come off mute. It's not going to work otherwise. If you could, this is Steve's request, if you could set your Zoom to speaker view, that's the top right-hand corner, then you'll be able to see whoever's speaking and whatever content we've got in big on your screen, rather than lots and lots of people's faces. It's completely up to you if you've got your camera switched on or not. Obviously, it feels a lot nicer if we can see lots of your beautiful faces and Oscar's beautiful garden, but do feel free to switch your cameras on and off as you need to going through the meeting. I've already mentioned, please type questions into the chat. We'll moderate them all and go through them afterwards. If there are a lot of questions, then we'll just save some of them for networking, because I'm conscious of going through this in time as well. The main thing, come on, when we're in an R meeting, everybody loves a sticker. Everybody loves a cheat sheet. You've probably got your walls at home behind you covered in cheat sheets. And so it wouldn't be an R event without stickers, cheat sheets, anything else Shiny related. So we do have a prize draw. For everybody that's still here at the end, we're going to put your names into a hat and we'll draw a few of you at random to receive some money can't buy our prizes. And yes, of course, that's because we want you all to stay to the end, obviously. Before we go on to David, I'm going to hand over to Steve. Steve's going to talk to you a little bit about Silicon Brighton, our sponsors, and then we'll hand over to David's talk. So over to you, Steve.
Unmute myself. Yeah, cheers, Jeremy. Hi, everyone. Following on from Jeremy, I just want to add a massive thanks to you all for joining us today. Just to give you a little bit of background to some of you who are new to Silicon Brighton, we've got a mission, and that's to help drive tech growth in our city. And we address that by hosting and promoting events where attendees leave with knowledge and skills gained and connections made to drive their careers forward. We also give the local meetup groups a platform to promote themselves and have additional access to speakers, sponsors, and general attendance. And if there is a gap in the meetup space, we even help start new meetup groups. And Brighton Art is in fact the first meetup group we helped to start. And it's a testament to what can be achieved when you bring together great people with a common interest. We are really keen to hear from anyone watching who would like to explore how they can contribute to Silicon Brighton. We can't do it on our own, so always keen for a hand. There is a lot of expertise here today. I would just ask if any of you have some knowledge or experience that you're willing to share for the benefit of our local industry, then please get in touch. That could be speaking at an event, that could be helping with maybe a tech workshop, or even starting your own meetup group. We can help you with that. I'll include my contact details in the follow-up to this event today, and that's it. Yeah, just hope you all really enjoy the session. Thank you.
Come off mute again. Brilliant. Thank you so much, Steve. As we said, we are really grateful to Silicon Brighton for powering and sponsoring this event. Definitely wouldn't have been possible without them. Anyway, to our first talk for today, this is one I'm super excited about. So ever since I met David a couple of years ago, and also ever since we kind of thought about the idea of Brighton R, probably about a year or so ago now, I've wanted to get David up in front of you guys to talk to you because he is a Shiny Award winner. And what makes that even more impressive is David actually doesn't use R in his day job. So he works for Lloyds Banking Group, and he uses and practices and learns R in his spare time. And he thought, what better way to do it than to learn Shiny, build an app, and enter the competition. And not only did he do that, but he won the prize for Best Design at the first Shiny Awards last year. I'm not going to steal any more of his thunder. We're going to play his talk now. As I said, any questions, please type them in the chat, and we'll go through them with David afterwards. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and we'll go over to David's talk.
Right, hi, I'm David. Nice to meet you all virtually. Yeah, just in case you don't know, this has been pre-recorded, but I hope I'll be around. Be around after to take any questions. Yeah, firstly, I'd just like to give a big thanks to the Brighton R organisers, and especially Jeremy for giving me the opportunity to present to you. Yeah, this was a talk I was going to give back in April at Live Brighton R that unfortunately got cancelled along with everything else because of COVID. So yeah, so here we go. So the talk's called From Naught to Shiny in 69 Love Songs. So I'm sure many of you know what Shiny is. Less of you probably know what 69 Love Songs is. You could probably tell from the top there that it's an album. So yeah, so the talk today I'm going to be going through a Shiny app I built that basically explores the lyrics to an album. So yeah, here we go. So yeah, before I get into it, if you want to get in touch, you can find me on Twitter. I like to tweet about R. So yeah, so at Committed to Tape. You can also find me on GitHub at Committed to Tape. I try to put as much of my code these days on there. And then yeah, I'll show in a second my blog, David Smale at netlify.app. And yeah, then there's my email. Right, so yeah, so who am I? Yeah, so here's a screenshot of my blog. So yeah, it's just to give me a little bit of my background in R. I've been using it for just over a couple of years now. Yeah, basically decided that I wanted to learn a new programming language. So in my day job, I data analyst for a bank, mainly coding in SAS and SQL. Yeah, I started doing some R courses online a couple of years ago just to learn something new. And then, yeah, I kind of discovered the tidyverse packages and there was no looking back, really. I really love the kind of elegance and the intuitive methods in the tidyverse of kind of wrangling data and especially creating graphics using the ggplot2 package. So, yeah. So yeah, so I tweet about us. So say if I've created a new data viz or something I want to tweet about, and then yeah, more in-depth projects. I like to write a blog post about it, and then yeah, as I say, something I mainly do kind of in my spare time, to kind of learn new things, or just to play about with stuff. I like to look at topics that interest me. So yeah, so indie pop is the topic of today, but I've also done stuff on the films of Wes Anderson and some cricket stuff. Big Test match cricket fan, but I won't bore you with that today. Right, so Shiny, it's got nothing to do with football stickers from the 90s, which is all it meant to me until a couple of years ago. I was gonna, I guess, do a show of hands at this point. Maybe we could do something interactive in the chat or something, just to see what people's experiences of Shiny are. I guess this is mainly for people that perhaps don't know that much about Shiny or nothing at all. But yeah, maybe if you're a more experienced Shiny user, you still might find something interesting in the talk. Yeah, the main aim is to hopefully inspire people to get out there and build some Shiny apps. So yeah, so for those that don't know anything about Shiny at all, just a brief description. So it's an R package. So it's open source, but it's maintained by our studio, the company. So it's actually built by their CTO, Joe Cheng. And yeah, it's for building interactive web apps. So I guess, like, you may have probably seen kind of dashboards built in Tableau or Power BI before. We're kind of talking about something like that, where you're basically providing the user with some inputs and some outputs, say graphs or tables, whatever, and the user can kind of interact, update, change those inputs, and then your analysis will update. So whatever it is, graphs, tables will then update. So yeah, you're kind of giving the user that flexibility to explore your data analysis themselves a bit. The great thing about it is that you're building this web app, but you don't actually need to know anything about web development to do it. So it's all built from our code. So whether that's Shiny specific code to build the structure of the app, but then obviously whatever other R package you like to use to wrangle the data, etc., to build the outputs. But yeah, essentially Shiny kind of turns it all into and renders it as a HTML website, but without you actually having to know anything about HTML or JavaScript, etc. And you do it all from within R. So I like to use the RStudio IDE to build apps, and you can kind of iterate there. You develop your app there and see what it looks like just locally, and then once you're happy with it, you can basically publish it to the world. I'll probably touch on it. You can, again, an RStudio product. I should really be sponsored by them, but shinyapps.io is like a server where you can push your apps to, and up to a limit. It is free to do that, and it's easily done from all within RStudio. Right, so that's a bit about Shiny. So why have I built this Shiny app? So I learned about Shiny a few years ago, fairly early on in learning R. It was something I definitely wanted to try out. And I guess the final push was provided again by RStudio themselves. So they announced the first ever Shiny contest. So this is going back to the start of last year. So as I said, it's one of their packages, and they really just wanted to promote it a bit more and kind of get people sharing their apps and kind of getting examples of all the cool things you can do with Shiny. And then obviously in return for people doing that, there would then be some awards and recognition to be won from RStudio. So I thought, this is kind of the final push I needed to build an app. so a little more on the competition. So you had to place the app or all the code into an RStudio cloud project. So yeah, this is another fairly new product from RStudio. Essentially just the RStudio IDE, but in the cloud. So your environment there with all the packages you need, etc. And then the great thing about it is that other people can go in and check out your project and run it themselves. And then you've got this kind of reproducible artifact there that people can play around with. So it had to be on there, and then as I've touched on, shinyapps.io, so you had to deploy it on there, which as I said, it is easily done from RStudio, and then put it on there basically means it's available for absolutely anyone to see, and play about with your app. And you have to make all the data and code available, so whether that's just in the RStudio cloud project or say putting on or creating a GitHub repo or whatever, and then you finally have to make a submission on the RStudio community board. So other people in the community could kind of potentially comment on your app and interact with people on there. And there was actually no limit to how many entries one person could submit. And in terms of them judging the app, I guess they wanted to make it no kind of specific criteria to make it open to people of all abilities, really. So whether you're kind of building an advanced, kind of highly technical app, or whether it's more kind of focused on making something that looks really nice and kind of a really good kind of user experience. So that's the competition. So that was kind of okay. I've got that final push to do it now. It's just trying to come up with something to actually build. This is going back to before the actual announcement. I'd kind of started looking at text mining. So picked up this book by Julia Silge and David Robinson called Text Mining with R. So text mining is something I actually hadn't looked at previously, but again, something that always interested me. So discovered this book. It's a tidy approach to text mining, so it's very much built for people that have kind of experience using the tidyverse and kind of all the kind of tidy principles, having tidy data, etc. I thought this would be a good place to start. So it comes with like a companion package called Tidy Text, again built by Julia and David. So so they go through kind of some of the key kind of text mining techniques in the book, and also and how to do all those things using this Tidy Text package. And I guess in learning a bit about text mining, I decided it'd be great to kind of apply it to something that really interests me, which is song lyrics. So that's where 69 Love Songs comes into it. So for those that don't know, it's an album by the Magnetic Fields released in 1999. It is an album comprised of 69 love songs. So it's actually a triple album, so there's 23 songs on each volume. And I just thought it'd be really interesting to explore the lyrics, see if there are any differences across the 3 volumes, and just explore how much is it really about love or not. So as I said, so at the back end of 2018, I kind of started doing something on this. So I had something to start with. So here is just, I guess, something fairly simple. I had this graphic here that's basically counting up how many times the word love appears in each song, or variants of the word love, and then kind of split across the 3 volumes. All built with kind of the Tidy Text package, and then the Tidyverse and ggplot 2 to build the actual final graphic. And then I had this word cloud. I don't think you're actually allowed to do any text analysis without at least one word cloud. So this graphic was built with a word cloud 2 package. Yeah, it's kind of cool. You can like mask the word cloud with an image and do things like that. So yeah, I had these 2 static graphics. It was just a case of taking it further and actually turning it all into a Shiny app. So yeah, so just a brief rundown of, I guess, some of the more detail on Shiny. For those that don't know, I won't go into finer detail, but you could basically build a Shiny app all from one script. So an app.r script. So I find the easiest thing to do is in RStudio. Instead of just creating a new R script, you can create a new Shiny app, and it will basically provide you with this skeleton script that has all the key elements you need to build a Shiny app, and then you can kind of modify it from there. So yeah, there's 2 things you really need really. So a UI object, so user interface. So this is where you're defining the look of the app. So yeah, what you want to go where. So so where you want to place your inputs, where you want to place your outputs, and that, just that kind of stuff. So yeah, you define the UI, and then you've obviously got to populate that with something. So in the server, it's kind of everything you need to build the app. So say you want to output a graph, then obviously you need to build that graph, and then you can render that within the server function. So then Shiny can kind of render the app for you. So those are the 2 key things you need in building a Shiny app. So it looks a little something like this. Obviously fill in the dots, but you need to load your Shiny package, and then you're kind of building out this UI and server objects, and then bring it all together with the Shiny app function. So as long as your code has those kind of elements, it will recognize that you're building a Shiny app, and then in RStudio you click on the Run App button, and it renders the app for you. So yeah, it's all pretty cool. So I was going to go into more detail on the UI and server side of things, but because of time, I think I'll skip that. But I'll point to some tutorials later. But I did just want to specifically mention how you can customize these apps. So, I mean, so the default Shiny app looks good and really professional and great. But you can, the great thing about Shiny is that you can kind of take that kind of default look and customize it. So I specifically wanted to do this because I fairly early on I decided I wanted to make this app kind of look like the album artwork. So I wanted to change the aesthetic so it kind of mirrored the album artwork. So that's what I was doing here. So for those that I guess know a bit about web development, I'm sure you know HTML and CSS and all that stuff, but I personally had no clue about this stuff, never kind of built websites or anything before, but Stack Overflow and Google certainly helped. The best way to customize your app is to essentially write some CSS code to alter kind of elements within your Shiny app. So you can kind of just create a separate CSS file. So here I'm kind of changing the font used throughout the app to be kind of the same font used in the album artwork, and then changing various colors. So here like changing hyperlink colors. Just a snippet of the CSS file there that you can then you basically include within the UI section of your Shiny script with an include CSS function. Just wanted to mention that. You'll see in a bit how that kind of played into how the Shiny app ended up looking like. Just one last thing before I get into the actual app. I'd just like to go through some of the key packages I used. I think it's always interesting to see what packages people use in case there's stuff out there I've not seen before. So I guess firstly I had to actually scrape the lyrics before I could do any analysis on them. So I got all the lyrics from a lyric website called genius.com using the Harvest package, which again is a Hadley Wickham package that is pretty good for scraping lyrics, especially if, like myself, it's something you've not done before. There's a few tutorials out there to get you underway with that. So yeah, I scraped the lyrics. And then I had to tidy them up a bit, so using really string R and tidy R and dplyr from the tidyverse, just to get it all in the format I wanted. And then so I've mentioned the tidy text package by Julia Silgi and David Robinson. So throughout that the text mining book, they basically go through kind of the key techniques in text mining, and then how you basically apply those techniques using this tidy text package that they've built. And you'll see in a sec the various techniques I've used, and that already comes from that tidy text package. The word cloud 2 package for word clouds. It kind of plays nicely with Shiny. You can kind of make them interactive. I'll show you in a second what that looks like. A couple of network packages here. So this is specifically text mining technique, looking at relationships between words. So n-grams. So I specifically looked at some bigrams, which is basically looking at really consecutive words in a piece of text. So once you're looking at relationships, you're really looking at network data. So there's a tidy graph package, which is it's a bit like the dplyr but for networks. It's kind of a cool package for kind of manipulating your network data. And then the viz network package I think is really great for turning turning your network analysis and visualizations into something interactive, and again that fits in really nicely with Shiny, which I'll show you in a second. And then finally the DT package. So again, this is a really easy way to take just the tables and tabular data from R and kind of render it in a Shiny app as an interactive table that a user can kind of say search or sort or do whatever with. So those are the packages. So now I'll demo the app. Just wait for it to load. Right, so I guess I'll just talk through the aesthetics to start with. As I said, something I really wanted to do was kind of get the app to kind of mirror how the album artwork there. So here you'll see this is the lovely re-released vinyl edition of the album. You'll see the colours obviously all match the artwork. I'll try to kind of put as much attention to detail as possible, so even kind of hovering over the links and stuff. It's all nicely aligned to the album artwork. So this first page is just a landing page, so there's actually nothing interactive going on here at all. Just wanted a kind of intro page to give a background to what the app was. So as I said, it's an album by a band called the Magnetic Fields. So it's the chief songwriter, Stephen Merritt, has described it as not remotely an album about love. It's an album about love songs. So I kind of really just wanted to explore it. So here we go. So this kind of goes back to that first graphic I had. So in that static graphic, I kind of had 3 volumes sort of faceted, but here in the Shiny app, I'm kind of just displaying 1 volume at a time, and this is where the interactivity comes into it. So the user can go in and change which volume they're looking at here. So obviously they change the input, and the graph here updates. And then you'll see I've got this info box here, where again it changes as the user updates that. So yeah, so this first tab here is we're really just looking at, just looking at the number of times the word love gets used in each song, or variants of the word love. So yeah, you'll notice here I'm also kind of, I've added a kind of snippet on each page of one of the lyrics in the album, tenuously linked to what I'm kind of displaying. So yeah, so here you'll see, so this song here, Sweet Loving Man, contains a lot of loving, so there's kind of a refrain at the end where loving gets repeated a lot. So that wins out there, but yeah, you can kind of see, so obviously some of the songs don't actually contain the word love at all, but a lot of them do, which is probably what you'd expect. So yeah, and then here's the word cloud. So this is really just giving the user the opportunity to kind of explore all the words that appear across the 3 volumes. So obviously love wins out easily. You'll see kind of other words that you probably kind of relate to kind of romance and love. I think word clouds aren't always the best way to show like absolute volumes or even relative volumes, but kind of the word cloud 2 package, you can hover over the words and it does tell you how many times that appears, which is good. And then so then I've got this kind of searchable table on the right here built with the DT package, so you can like search for words. I know zebra's in there 3 times, and then again I'm providing kind of a filter on the album if you wanted to focus on a specific volume. So I guess that's again something fairly simple, just exploring all the words in the album via some word clouds. Right, and then here's where the network stuff comes into it. So as I mentioned, bigrams. So here I'm specifically basically looking at consecutive words where love is involved. So just to try and put all that love into a bit of context. So so here we've got words that appear either before or after the word love, and this is showing you kind of, so we've got arrows going in and out of love. So the black arrows going into love are where that word occurs before love. So here we've got, and then the thickness of the arrow is kind of how common that is. So in love is a common combination, and then you've got the red arrows going out to show you kind of words that appear after the word love. So again, love you is a common combination. So there's just something there you can play around with. So you can see all the words appearing before and after love. And this I think this Viz network package is great for doing stuff like network stuff like this, because it's like fully interactive. You can move stuff around, and then you can click on whatever word you want, etc. And then again, I'm kind of supplying these kind of variants of the word love, just in case you want to build out the networks a bit more. And I just think it's super cool. You can kind of zoom in and move stuff around. So lots to explore there. Right, and then so here's some sentiment analysis, which again is another technique that appears in that text mining book. Again, the tidy text package provides these things called lexicons, so essentially like lists of words with sentiments attached. So here I'm specifically using the Bing lexicon, which has like either a negative or a positive sentiment attributed to certain words. So I basically wanted to see some songs, which songs are kind of the most positive or most negative, and which volumes again are most positive or most negative. So really so seeing what proportion of words in each song have either a positive or negative sentiment attached. So I thought it was interesting that volume 1 seems to have the most kind of portion of positive positive songs, and volume 3 doesn't actually appear on the positive list at all, which might suggest it's a dark album. I certainly think that that volume 1 is probably the poppiest album, or the one with the most hits, if you can call it that. And yeah, so that's kind of interesting. And then again, the interactivity here is you can change how those bars are coloured. So instead of I guess seeing it by volume, here you're seeing it by the singer that sings on that particular song. So Stephen Merritt's kind of like the chief songwriter who sings on a lot of the songs, but he also has kind of a roster of other singers he employs that sing on some of the other songs. So you can then kind of explore there. Maybe some singers end up with some of the more depressing songs or not. So you can play about with that there. Then just finally me having some fun. So one of the songs, Reno Dakota, has this lyric that always makes me laugh. You know you enthrall me, and yet you don't call me. It's making me blue. Pants on 292. It just makes me laugh at kind of describing their blueness with an exact shade of blue. So, but maybe you want to try out a different blue that you're feeling today. So there's a few other shades. Space Cadet there's pretty good blue there. This was actually built with ggplot 2 as well. Probably other ways to do it, but tend to do everything with ggplot 2. So that's the app demoed there. Obviously feel free to play with it at your leisure, but I'll go back to the presentation now. I won amazingly. So there ended up being 4 main prizes in the end, and I won. I won the grand prize for best design, which I couldn't believe. I was really chuffed with, because as I said, that's one of the key things I wanted to do. Was I spent a lot of time doing is kind of customizing the app to be aligned with the album artwork. So that was it's amazing, and to actually get awarded best design. And they sent me a load of merch, so you can see some there and some signed books. Pretty amazing. But probably the best thing was actually getting a one-on-one session with Joe Cheng, who's as I said, basically the inventor of Shiny and CTO at our studio. So that was amazing. We had a chat and he gave me some tips on how to improve the app and stuff. I just want to talk about some of the other submissions, because blown away by some of the other entries, and couldn't believe I won, considering. So here's a couple here. This one's won the most fun award. Basically you can build Shiny apps for whatever you want. It doesn't have to be a piece of analysis. You can make games out of it as well. So word of warning, you could lose hours to this game, but fun game to match up the hex stickers there. And then I think this won one of the runner-up prizes. So Tidy Tuesday Rocks, so by Neil Grantham. So this is, for those that don't know the Tidy Tuesday project, this is like something created by, there's an Arthur Data Science online community that you can find on Twitter that basically release a fresh data set each week for people to play around with, do some analysis or visualizations or whatever. So they release it on Twitter, or announce it on Twitter, and you can go on their GitHub and basically download the data, and it's just a great opportunity to practice, whether that's in the Tidyverse or whatever you want to use. So Neil Grantham's here has collated all these people's submissions. So if you want to tweet what you end up with, you can do that. And then he's collated all these tweets. So it's a great place to find some inspiration, or even just to look at what data sets have been used. And you can find all those data sets on the Tidy Tuesday GitHub. So So that was all last year. There was an RStudio contest again this year. Looks like it's going to be every year now, which is cool. So yeah, they announced it at the RStudio conference in January. I think they extended the deadline in the end because of COVID. So yeah, I think it was actually extended from there. But I did enter again. This time it was some more network analysis this time. So did a kind of a network analysis of actors appearing in Wes Anderson films. Jason Schwartzman appears a lot, as does Bill Murray. No great shock there, but yeah. So that was fun. I won't demo that now, but you can check that out if you want to. And yeah, so alas, I did not win this time. So yeah, they announced the winner a couple of weeks back, or winners a couple of weeks back. But yeah, definitely check out this year's winners as well. Again, a load of amazing apps there, and yeah, basically RStudio are collecting a lot of the winning apps and displaying them on their Shiny Showcase area on their website. So yeah, definitely check out the Shiny Showcase just to get inspirations for your Shiny apps. So yeah, so before I finish, I'll just go through some kind of signposting if you want to learn more about Shiny. So yeah, a great place to start if you're new to it is RStudio Shiny tutorials. So you'll find some videos on there to basically get to grips with the basics of building your UI and server, and kind of the key concepts of Shiny, such as reactive programming, which is something I don't think I've got time to go through today, but something you need to get to grips with. And then next there's currently Hadley Wickham's writing a Mastering Shiny book, which it's not finished yet, but it's kind of available online for people to read now, and it's in pretty good shape. And I've been reading it a bit and kind of delve into it more. It looks like it might end up being the Bible on Shiny. So yeah, definitely check that out. And then maybe if you're more experienced Shiny developer, then some other things here. If you're more advanced, so there's ThinkR, which is a French group of Shiny developers. They've built this app called Golem, which is like for building like robust Shiny apps as like packages, specifically in mind of putting Shiny apps into production. So say at your company or whatever. So definitely check out this engineering production gauge Shiny apps book. Again, that's quite new book that they've released that you can just read online. And Shiny modules. So again, this is something I've not actually gone into myself, but imagine as an app becomes pretty large and complicated, it might be difficult to start kind of unpicking that and kind of debugging stuff. So Shiny modules, you can kind of compartmentalize it all a bit. And actually, I think this Mastering Shiny book does now have a chapter on Shiny modules. It might be worth checking that out if you've not seen them before. And then finally, so Joe Cheng gave a talk at the RStudio conference earlier in the year on customizing apps. So as I said, you can, as I did, customize your apps with CSS. It can be a bit fiddly at times, trying to work out exactly which kind of elements you need to update. This kind of Bootstrap lib package looks like it's going to make that a lot easier. I've not used it yet myself, but I definitely will do. Basically means you can kind of update color schemes and stuff a lot easier. So you could probably imagine if you want to build an app that kind of is in the style of your company brand or whatever. looks like it's going to be a lot easier to do that using these packages. So yeah, so that's it really. Thank you very much for listening. Yeah, just one final thing on the slides that I've built them with this Ringen package, if I pronounced that right. So it's kind of an extension of R Markdown. You can kind of build these HTML slides. So yeah, I've kind of designed this or customized this Brighton R themed slides. So yeah, so if you want to, yeah, so the slides are available here. I'm sure we'll make that available on my website. And yeah, but if you want to check out the code behind the slides, you can as well on my GitHub, in case you want to, potentially use Ringen and this Brighton R theme. But yeah, again, thanks very much. Hopefully, you know a bit about Shiny now if you didn't before. Yeah, well, hopefully I've provided you with some inspiration, if nothing else, or at least told you about some cool album that I like that you should definitely check out. Yeah, but that's it really. So yeah, thanks again, and yeah, perhaps I'll catch you in the chat now. But yeah, thanks. Bye.
Fantastic. So hopefully everybody can hear me and see me again. Just either give me a thumbs up if you've got your camera on, or stick something into the chat. Has anybody got their camera on? Excellent. At least one person can see me, which I'm guessing means that somebody can hear me as well. Thanks, Geeta. I can see a thumbs up there. Great. Thank you very much, David. I'm sure everybody will agree that was absolutely fascinating. Probably puts all of our Shiny apps to shame, because that is an award-winning Shiny app. And really glad that we could finally have that talk at a Brighton R. There were a few questions in the chat. I know you've answered one or two of them already, but it might be worth. There was a heck of a lot of buzz going on in the chat there, which was fantastic. Found out a lot more about people's favorite hex stickers. Andy's going to tell us a lot more about his package another day as well. So all really good. But I'll go through a couple of questions that you've answered in case you want to elaborate a bit more, David. So we had a question from SG, which was, first of all, beautifully designed app, as I'm sure we'll all agree. Do you have any advice on integrating the CSS?
Yeah, so I don't know whether it's wise to take my CSS advice, because I'm a complete newbie at it all. But I mean, the way I constructed it is I created basically a separate CSS file that lives in a folder within your Shiny project, and then you can reference that in the UI. I think with the include CSS function. So yeah, there's a few other ways you can do it. I think you can sort of have the CSS actually in the Shiny script as well, but I found just keeping that separate and then tinkering with it there was best. But yeah, it was very much trial and error trying to adjust everything in that app to get it just how I wanted. But yeah.
I think as our users, we can probably all agree that a lot of what we do does become trial and error at some point as well. Yeah. So it's always a bit of fun, but we get there in the end.
Yeah.
Simon has asked, did you hard code the variants of the word love, the words love that you considered?
Yeah, I think I just searched for the string LOV and then just used them. So nothing fancy, but yeah. And then just create a vector of those words to then feed in when needed. Yes. And that's it.
Yeah. I think it's always the fun with text mining, hard coding things like that, and particularly people can misspell words. There's obviously lots of variations as well. Always a little bit of fun.
Yeah, it took me a while to tidy up all the lyrics and make sure they all look right. I think I mainly ended up reading a lot of them just to check I was happy with it all. But yeah, yes, doing it on a bigger piece of text that I'm not familiar with would be a whole nother challenge. But yeah, Yeah, I use the string R package a lot to do any kind of string detection and stuff like that.
Another strong hex there, string R, for people that are looking for good hex stickers. Moving on, James Glover has asked, is there anything you wanted to add to the app in future that didn't make it into the competition?
Yeah, I mean, I think the kind of having the time limit of the competition was good in a way, because it meant I had to kind of limit how much I did and kind of tinkering with it. So I was kind of happy with where I got to with it in the end. But I mean, yeah, there's certainly, I mean, I don't think I actually ever got around to finishing that text mining book and some of the kind of techniques towards the end. And yeah, I mean, I think there was some stuff in the chat about kind of taking the sentiment analysis a bit further. Like, yeah, I mean, the way I did it, just looking at positive and negative words, obviously that doesn't really give you the full context of potentially what the sentiment is. So yeah, there's certainly other sort of text mining techniques I would have liked to look at further. And just, I mean, I probably could have tinkered with the whole aesthetics a lot more as well, and kind of tried to take that in further. But it was kind of good in a way to have that time limit and then to be like, okay, this is going to be the app. I'm still not sure whether to go back to it and expand on it or just leave it as it is, or but yeah, there's certainly a few other techniques that I probably would have explored given more time.
I think apps and visualizations are never really finished, really.
Yeah.
There's always more tinkering you can do, a bit like an exam question.
Yeah.
Final question, this is just one that I'm interested in. Are there any other albums you'd like to try this on?
So, I mean, yeah, How Long's a Piece of String, I suppose. I mean, I could probably go through all my favourite albums and do it. I mean, yeah, there's something I've started working on, which I don't know when I ever finish it, but there's another American band from the 90s, mainly I like, called Guided by Voices, and they have these very kind of stream of conscious lyrics and song titles. So what I'm trying to build at the moment is a Shiny app that will kind of generate random songs, and then you've got to try and pick the real song names from the fake ones, which I think would be tricky because they're such random song names anyway. But yeah, so Guided by Voices, which is a American band that, well, they're still around now, but yeah, indie rock from the 90s mainly. But yeah, and I also think it would be good to explore song lyrics from bands where they have like two kind of songwriters, and trying to see are there kind of differences between their two, the way they write their songs, or there's certain kind of structures to their lyrics, or certain kind of topics they sing about more than the other partner in the group. So yeah, so Lennon and McCartney would be the obvious one, but yeah, maybe some other ones as well. But yeah, yes, so a lot more I want to do in the area of text analysis and song lyrics, but yeah, one day I'll get to all of that. Yeah.
Some strong entries for next year's Shiny Awards already in progress then, I hope.
Yeah. Yes, hopefully I'll have another one for next year as well, yeah.
Excellent. Thank you again so much, David. Fascinating talk.
No
really
problem.
good to see it up at Brighton R. I'm sure everyone's giving a virtual round of applause now because we're not all there in person all together, but thank you very, very much. And I'm sure, David, you'll be happy to hang around for a little bit at the end to answer any more.
Sure. Yeah. Thanks again for the opportunity.
Brilliant. Thank you. Right, before we move on, just a quick reminder to everybody that for those of you that are still on at the end, we do have a prize draw for Money Can't Buy Our merch, which all of us want lots and lots more of in our house, particularly my 4-year-old, who's used all of my hex stickers. But moving on to our second talk of the afternoon, it's something a little bit different. We're going for a follow-along talk here. So what we mean by that is you can actually follow the coding as we go. So anyone that wants to follow along and learn a bit more about ggplot, I'll give you a minute to get your R Studios or whatever you want open and get them primed and ready while I introduce Jack. Now, You can't talk R without somebody from Mango Solutions in the room. Mango have been running R groups since I was probably at nursery. Okay, maybe not as long as that, but they've been running them for a very, very long time. And they obviously host the Earl Conference, which we'll talk a little bit more about later on as well. London R, many, many other R user groups conduct R training. In fact, they are probably the experts in R. So I'm not going to say too much more about Mango. Just to talk about Jack, he's going to take us through the framework for building a ggplot, which I know is a major part of a lot of the work they do at Mango and a lot of what we do in our everyday. Again, won't steal his thunder. Get ready for a Master R class in ggplot 2. Here is Jack.
Hello, I'm Jack Talboys, a junior data scientist from Mango Solutions. And today I'm going to be kind of introducing you to ggplot, kind of giving you an idea of what typical ggplot code looks like, as well as trying to give you a little bit of a look inside my head to what goes on while we're actually creating a ggplot. So of course, to actually make a plot, we need some data, and I'm going to be using data from Tidy Tuesday. So if you've not come across that, it is a really cool project where every week a data set gets released on the Tidy Tuesday GitHub, and then people can make a visualization with it and post it to Twitter, for example, with hashtag Tidy Tuesday. And it's a really good way to get your visualizations out there and get recognized. So there's a really easy way to read this data into R. So we just need the Tidy Tuesday R package. So if we load that in and then use the function ttload. So here X is the year we want. So I've already had a look through all the data sets, and there's some really interesting ones. Some revolving around sport, some revolving around rap music I was tempted to do, but I chose to go with week 14 from 2020, and that is revolving around beer. So when you load in the data using this tt_load function, there's actually 4 different data files. So now if we look at beer object, there's the kind of a list of the 4 different data frames. So we're going to be focusing on this beer_states one. So we're going to put that into its own separate object. Now, I will be honest, I have prepared for this a little bit, and what I know kind of from experience is that we do need to do a little bit of data prep to start with. So we're just going to library the dplyr package to make those dplyr verbs available to us. Then we're going to use the pipe. So I know Jeremy did a presentation at the David Brighton R, kind of introducing you to the tidyverse, and hopefully introduce you to the pipe. So if you're kind of reading that code, you want to read that as kind of an as a len. So we're taking our beer_states data frame from that beer object we created before, and then we want to filter it. So what I know is that we want to remove all the NAs from the barrels column and all the zeros as well. So to remove all the NAs, we use the exclamation point to say we don't want this. And then we use is.na and then barrels, which is the name of the column. And then inside filter, that comment is like an and. So say we also don't want any occurrences of barrels. So we want all the occurrences of barrels that are not equal to 0 as well. So if we run that and then go down to our console and take a head of the states, you can see we've got these 4 columns. We've got the state, the year, the number of barrels, and then the type of beer production. Cool. So now we've pre-processed our data a tiny bit. I tried to find kind of data that required the least pre-processing. We can actually go and work on our ggplot. So to do that, of course, we'll need to library ggplot2 package. And then all ggplots are going to start the same way, or most of them are at least. We're going to use this ggplot function from the ggplot2 package. Slightly confusing, but yeah, that's the function you're always going to be using. So the main argument that we want to be passing through is beer_states data frame. So if we just run that line of code on its own, then we're going to get a blank plot. So you can see that in my plot viewer, it's just like empty gray background. So it's kind of like initialized it. So we're going to build on top of that essentially. So that means that we need to supply some more arguments. So the next part is telling the plot what we want on our axes, so what we want to map our variables to on this plot. So it makes sense that we're using the mapping argument. So to use this mapping argument, we need a helper function from ggplot called AES. And then inside this AES function, there's all kinds of different options. So we can set our x-axis, our y-axis, we can set a variable we want to map to the color, for example. But now we're just going to map our x-axis to that year column and our y-axis to the number of barrels. So all we say is x is the year, and then y equals to the number of barrels. So we don't need to quote our column names here. ggplot is part of like the clever tidyverse, which uses this tidy evaluation, and it understands what you mean just by passing it through without quoting. So now if we run that code, we can see that our plot's changed quite a lot. So it's still essentially a blank plot with no information on it, but now we've got our two axes set up. It's taken the names of the columns as the names of the axes, and it's also given us some axis ticks that kind of correspond to the ranges of the variables that we've passed through. So to actually plot some data onto this, we need to apply something called a geom. So a good place to start when you're thinking about kind of what sort of geom should I use is the ggplot2 cheat sheet. So I've loaded it up here already, and you can see that it kind of really well describes kind of all the different geoms and the cases where you might want to use it. So if you've got one variable, you might want to use a histogram, so you use geom_histogram, and then when you've got two variables, you've obviously got different cases. So you've got two continuous, two discrete, for example. So if we go back to our plot, we've currently got two continuous variables, but we kind of know that year is actually categorical. So if we have a look again at our ggplot2 cheat sheet, we can have a look at the continuous ones to start with, and geom point seems like a good place to start. And one of the more simple geoms from ggplot2 will just produce a scatter plot. So to add this scatter plot geom to our plot, much in the kind of a similar way we use the pipe when we're using dplyr functions, we can use the plus with ggplot2 plot. So all we do is add a plus after our call to ggplot, and then we call out to geom_. So now when we run that, we actually get some data plotted. And you can see like the underlying plot is exactly the same as we had before with the scale of the axes and the labels. All it's added on top is the actual plot of our data. So this looks a bit strange. We've got kind of one outlier for each year. So again, we're going to use a little bit of dplyr just to investigate that and see what's going on there. If we take our the states data set and pipe it through to the arrange function. So think of that like sort. And then we can pass through the column we want to sort by. So because we want barrels in descending order, if we take the negative barrels and run that and have a look, we can see in the state column, instead of having an actual singular state, we've got the total. So to avoid all our plots having these, obviously not outliers, but this kind of extreme points on each one, we want to remove that from our data set. So we'll delete that call to arrange, and we want to kind of overwrite the current state of our clear states data frame. So to get rid of this, we're going to use that filter again. So we want all the observations where state is not equal to total. So we run that. So if we go back up to that arrange call, run that again, you can see now we have no rows with total. These are all states. So it would make sense to put that call before our plot. We could even chain it onto our initial filter to get rid of the NAs and zeros if we were really clever. But for now, that'll be fine. So now if we run this same plot again, we can see we kind of get a clearer look at the distribution of the points. So one thing that I think is really important to change in this plot at the moment is our year axis. So you currently see you've got like 2007.5, 2010, 2012.5, when we know that our data is kind of 2008, 2009, 2010. So because it's categorical, we want to convert our year column into a factor. So we could do this in the underlying data, but that may not be ideal. So actually doing it just inside the plot is really easy. All we have to do is surround our call to year in that AES function with the function factor. So all that does is kind of takes the factor version of year whenever we use this plot. So now if we run that, you can see it's changed the label of the axis because it takes that explicitly from what we call an AES, but it's also sorted out our axis ticks. So now we've got 2008, 2009, 2010, etc. Okay, so how else can we improve this plot? Well, let's think about these data points down the bottom here. So you can see there's a lot of data points on top of each other. Because they're all in a line, we can't really tell exactly how many data points there are. So if we go back to our ggplot2 cheat sheet and have a look at this geom_jitter function. So what that jitter function does is it's essentially the same as geom_point, except what it does, it adds a bit of random noise to the plot, to the points. So all we're going to do is replace our call to geom_point with geom_jitter. And then if we have a look at the help file and have a look at the arguments, we see there's this width and this height. So that controls the amount of random noise that you want to add to your points. So if we think about our plot, if we start moving points about vertically, then that's going to change our kind of perceived value of like the number of barrels produced at that point. So we only want to mess with it vertically. So in this case, we want our height, so like the vertical random noise, to be set to 0, and width. So this is kind of where the experimentation comes in. So if we try a value of 0.5 to start with, for example, and take a look at that. So you can see from that plot that random noise was too much. It's kind of blurred all the points from the different years. So if we reduce that to something like 0.1, for example, you now see that we can clearly see which points belong to which year, but they are still a bit too close together. So if we increase that a tiny bit more to 0.2, and yeah, I think that is the the best solution there. We can still clearly see which points they belong to 2008, for example. But there's also, we can see that there's a lot higher density down below than there is up the top. So a really simple way to improve your plots next is to just add some labels. So there's a few ways you can do this. So there's functions xlab and ylab to explicitly add the x labels and y labels. But there's also an overall function called labs, which you can specify inside labels for all the different parts of your plot. So in here, if we want our x label to be year, we want our y label to be something like year production in number of barrels. And then we can add a title, which would be something like beer produced in each state by type and year, for example. So I made a little error there, so that needs to go inside of those quotes. And then we need to replace the bracket at the end. So now if we run this, we've very nicely labeled our plot so that people know what is going on with it a little bit more. So kind of thinking about this data now, yeah, we've been able to use geom jitter to see what's going on down the bottom a little bit more. But you can see with this kind of long tail of the data, so that there's fewer observations, kind of the higher up you go, it kind of lends itself quite well to sitting on a logarithmic scale. So if you ever want to mess with the scales of your ggplot, we're going to be using these scale functions. If I just type scale into the console, it will auto-complete, and you can see all these like scale underscore alpha, scale underscore color. So that's when you're messing with kind of gradient and color. So we're going to be messing with our y-axis, because that's what we want to convert to logarithmic. And you can see we've got this scale underscore y underscore log 10. So all we do is, again, we keep adding to our ggplot. And we add this scale underscore y underscore log 10 function. Now, when we run this plot, you can see it's giving us it in a logarithmic scale. I think the only thing I don't like about this is the scientific notation that's used on the labels. But luckily, there is a good way around that. So inside the scale underscore y underscore log 10 function, we have an argument called label. And that controls how your axis ticks are labeled. So in this case, we want to remove it from scientific notation back to just like the raw number. And because it's quite big, we want to have it like comma separated. So for 1 million, for example, it'd be 1, 3 zeros, comma, and then 3 zeros. So the way we can do this is passing through the comma function from the scales package to this argument. So all we're going to be using from this scales package is this one comma function. So instead of librarying it in at the top with the rest of them, we can just call out to the scales function, scales package, sorry. And then if we do double colon, we can access all the functions from that it exports without having to library in the package. And then I don't think it matters whether you put brackets at the end of the call to this function in this case or not. So now again, if we run this plot, you can see it's much nicer. We can kind of, someone that was non-technical would be able to understand that this was a non-linear scale. So So now it's time to look again at our actual kind of data that's contained in this plot and think about whether this kind of scatter plot version is the best. So when we think about it, actually it doesn't lend itself very well because of like the high density of points, and we can't really tell about any distribution. So something that would be good in this case, I think, is a box plot. So we've got our kind of categorical data along the x-axis and then continuous along the y. So I think it lends itself quite well to the box plot. Luckily for us, in terms of adapting our ggplot, making it into a box plot is as easy as replacing this call to geom_jitter with a call to geom_boxplot. And that's all we have to do. So now, if we run that code again, instead of our scatter plots, we've now got some box plots, which kind of give us an idea of how the median is changing over time and gives us an idea of which points are outliers. Okay, so now if we look at our title being produced in each state, split by type and year, it's currently not clear like which data points belong to which type. So if we have a look, so if you call this unique function and pass it through a vector, it will give you all the unique elements of that vector. So we can pass through beer_state $type, and we can see we've got 3 different types of beer produced. We've got the barrels that are drunk on premises, the barrels that go into bottles and cans, and the barrels that go into kegs and barrels. So if we want to split this plot by the type, all we have to do is edit this call to mapping in our initial ggplot function call. So all we do is add another argument. So we might want it to be the color or the fill of the ggplots. So if we specify we want the fill of these box plots to change, again, like we've done above, all we need to do is specify the name of the column there. So we want it to be type. So now when we run that, we can see that it has given us a nice little legend on the right-hand side. And for each year, we have 3 separate box plots, 1 for each type of beer produced. So in my opinion, this plot is okay, but it's a bit too squished. So I think something that would be good to look at is something called faceting. So that's where instead of having it all on the same plot and splitting by, for example, color or fill, we have 3 different plots, and each one is for each type of beer. So we're going to remove this fill call from the mapping function, and instead we're going to add on to the end of our ggplot call this facet grid function, and we say we want the rows to be split by the type of beer produced. So we have to wrap the call in type with this function var, so it knows that it's a variable from our initial beer_states data set. And then if we run that and kind of zoom in on our plot a bit to get a better look, you can see that we've got 1 plot for bottles and cans, kegs and barrels, and on premises. But they've all got the same scale, and they all share the same x-axis, which can be really useful at times. So the only kind of major pattern I'm noticing here is there's like a slight increase in on-premises as we kind of go along. So that would be something that would be interesting to annotate. So we can annotate our plots using the geom_text function. But if we just do geom_text and then pass it through like an x coordinate and a y coordinate, then it will put it onto all of these 3 plots. So that's kind of not what we want. We want to have it just on this bottom plot. So for that, it's a bit trickier, and I'll admit it's kind of took me some Googling to find out the answer to how to do this. But it means we actually need to create a new data frame. This data frame is just going to have 1 row. So it's going to have the x coordinate that we want, text to be at, the Y coordinate, we need to specify the type, so in this case, on premises, so that it goes on to just this on premises plot. And then we can specify the actual label to be, for example, like an increase in recent years. So if we kind of store that data frame and take a look at it, we can see it's just that one row with the X coordinate, Y coordinate, type, and label. And then we can pass that through this geom text function. So we start to pass this data through this mapping argument and then use that AES helper function. But this time we're going to say that X we want to be equal to X. So the X column from our data frame, the same with Y, and the same with label. So the main difference is that we want the data this time to come from our separate data frame, not from our kind of originally passed through data frame. And you can see this, and you can see it's added that text in just on the on-premises plot at the X and Y coordinates we specified. So because I've only got half an hour, I kind of already knew the perfect coordinates to put it in. But yeah, like that's something that you can mess around with. You can maybe mess around with the size of the text by using the argument size. So say we wanted it to be size 3. You can see that's made it a lot smaller, for example. So something that will make our plot a bit more fun, this is a bit boring at the moment, is adding some colour. So we can colour our box plots by passing an argument through inside this geom_boxplot function. So all that requires is passing through to the fill argument, but this time not inside mapping, just inside the overall function. And say we want to try and make it look kind of like a nice kind of bit. So it's kind of orangey, that'll do. So if we just run that, we can see we've got this lovely shade of orange for our box plots. So there's loads of kind of little tweaks you can make to your ggplot to try and get it perfect, just how you'd like it. So for an example of kind of all the things that you can control, if we take a look at this theme function on ggplot2, this is how you modify all the components of a theme like it says there. And if you look at all these arguments here, these are all the things you can control individually. So like the axis ticks, there's like an overall class, and then you control the x-axis ticks, y-axis ticks, and then like the top and bottom, left and right ones. The lines, the legends, the panels. There's an awful lot that you can control. Now, kind of messing about with all these here isn't very practical in half an hour. So something that's really useful is that ggplot has loads of preset themes that can make your plots look a lot more effective really quickly. So I feel like we did with the scale, if we look at all the theme functions exported from ggplot, we can see that there's quite a few. So I like quite a simple look. So if I go with theme minimal, you can see it's removed that kind of, not horrible, but that kind of not the best grey background. It's made the plot a lot simpler. I feel like it's a lot more focused on the data now. And if we just zoom into that, it's still got our labels alongside, nice, and our text that we added. Okay, I think my time for kind of trying to show off ggplot is about up. I hope it's been useful. I hope you've learned something. I'll make all the code for this available on GitHub. I think it will be, I think it's Mango the Cat /Brighton R ggplot demo, I think it's called. It'll be something along those lines, so I'll make that available for you. Any questions about what I do or about this talk, please get in touch. You can find me on GitHub, or my email is talboys@mango-solutions.com. Yeah, I hope this has been useful. Thank you for having me. Hopefully we've got some time awesome questions now. Thank you.
Excellent. Another great talk there. Thank you very much, Jack. So hopefully everybody can hear me and see me again. I can see you, Jack, so give me a thumbs up if you can hear me. Excellent. And hopefully one or two of you learned a little bit more about ggplot there, and the session's recorded if you want to follow along with any of that another time too. There were a couple of questions for Jack in the chat there. So this one's this is an interesting one to read out. It's got R code in it. But do you know if there is any difference between geom_jitter and geom_point position equals jitter? Very difficult to read out when it's R code, but I think we all know what the question means. So Jack, over to you.
Yeah, I don't think there's any difference as far as I'm aware. I think once you pass that jitter argument through to geom_point, you can also set the height and width arguments like I did in that little demo there.
Fantastic. So hopefully that answers your question, Simon. If not, then do stay behind to chat afterwards as well. We had one more question as well from Son Soles. What else would you have looked at if you had more time? Because we realized that was a very short snippet of ggplot 2.
Yeah, it was definitely designed to kind of show off some ggplot 2 features rather than make a really cool plot. In terms of improving the one that we finished with, I'd probably just mess around with the formatting a bit more. In terms of the data, it'd be fun to try new variables and definitely try some different geoms as well.
Excellent. I'm just having a look. We've just had a question come in about, can you elaborate on the scale function, the logic behind it? I mean, that's probably a much deeper question than we've got time for now. Is there anything you want to say on that, Jack, or should we save that for people that want to stay behind afterwards and talk?
Yeah, again, that's something it's a bit tricky to go into now. I kind of use it because it essentially deals with all the logic for you. Like if you're kind of attuned enough into your data to understand that a logarithmic scale might be good, ggplot2 is really useful in offering a simple option to implement that.
Yeah, I mean, from my perspective, I've also used it quite a bit, particularly when you're looking at charts and you need to make them, in my eyes, I've got to make a lot of my charts client friendly. So I've got to look at what the data is telling me to make sure that it tells them the story. So there's a lot in there, and probably it's one of those that's a deeper conversation specifically around what you want to do. I believe that's it. I think there was, I can't see if there was another question or two that came in, but I think we'll leave it there. Thank you so much, Jack. Are you cool to stay around for a minute or two afterwards in case there's any other questions?
Yeah, of course.
Brilliant. Great. Well, we did say that we'd try and keep you not past 5:30. We will go for another minute or two longer, just because we've got some wonderful R announcements to make, which I'm sure you all want to hear. So I'm just going to share my screen again. Just bear with me 1 second. And hopefully everybody can now see a beautiful sea of Brighton R orange. Again, if you can all see that, then somebody give me a thumbs up, or everybody give me a thumbs up if you can see Brighton R orange. Excellent. Just a couple of announcements before we go on to the bit you've been waiting for, the big prize draw. London R, hosted by Mango Solutions, again, they're coming up. So Mango Solutions, who Jack works for, that is next week. It's also online, 25th of August, on I think that's Tuesday night next week at 5 p.m. You can still register for that. If you go to londonr.org, there are tickets available for that. Please sign up. 3 great presentations there as well. Staying on the R theme, and very exciting news that despite COVID, EARL, the Enterprise Applications of the R Language conference, so the annual R conference, the event of the year, normally in London, is taking place but online. So more details will follow from Mango, I believe tomorrow or at some point early next week. It's the 12th to the 16th of October, so date for your diaries. Lots of amazing and inspiring R talks to be heard during that time as well. So keep the date free for now. One more local announcement. So the Brighton Data Forum in September will be on the 30th of September, again online. Steve and Oscar promised me that there's a great speaker to be announced. So watch this space from both of them as well, but another great online event to attend. And again, supporting the local Brighton data community as well. Join our community. So we're on Meetup, we're on Silicon Brighton. Please come and join us after this meeting. Please come to all of our future events, which there will be many, many more, we hope now. Hopefully we'll be back to face-to-face meetups at some point soon. But for now, we'll stick to having more awesome virtual speakers again. And of course, we always need more speakers. We've had 2 fantastic talks today. If that's inspired you to come and speak at one of our future events, or you've got an R story to share, even if it's just a lightning 5 or 10 minute talk, then we'd love to hear it from you. The rest of the community would also be all ears as well. Do get in touch with us via Meetup. Stay online afterwards for the chat, and we can talk it through then. I know we've already had a couple of people come forward today, so thank you so much for putting yourselves forward. We'll be in touch as well. And now I suppose it's the bit you've all been waiting for. So all of your names, everybody that is still here now, you've gone into Steve's hat, and there it is, a bowl. You could definitely use that as a hat though. I wouldn't recommend it now with all the names in it. So I'm going to hand over to Steve, and we'll pick the winner of this fantastic Money Can't Buy Our merch.
Okay, right. Can you hear me okay? Brilliant, fantastic. I'd like to say I was spending the last half an hour learning about ggplot, but I've just been doing post-it notes in a bowl. But I think I've got everyone here. Is it just the one, Jeremy? Is it thumbs up, or do we have a couple to announce? I think we've got a bit of stuff left over. It might be one for Simon to say. I wasn't sure how much we have to give away.
How much does Simon want to give away?
I know he's holding on to this.
Hi, we've got, I think we've got 1 or 2 t-shirts left, and we've got thousands of stickers and cheat sheets.
Okay, should we roll that into, should we have maybe 5? Maybe 2 star prizes that include the t-shirts, and maybe 3 smaller packets? Yeah, we will. Right, okay, here we go. Drum roll. So firstly, we'll do the 3 smaller ones first. We'll save the 2 t-shirts till last. Interested to hear what size they are. Actually, they won't fit me now post lockdown. The first one is Geeta. Well done, Geeta. I'm just going to quickly put my email address in here. I need you to email me your address, or send me your email address, please. Second one, sorry, time is Simon. No, that's not Simon Organizer. That's Simon who's just got his name as just Simon. Well done, Simon. Adam, I hope you win after that. Rigged. Right. Third up, we have Kelvin. Well done, Kelvin. Now the final 2, these are the t-shirts. I'm sure Simon will throw some other bits and pieces in as well. Yep. We've got Penny B. Penny B. Just going to quickly check you're still here. Penny B. Penny B. Do we have Penny B here? Okay, can't see her on my list, but we'll give her that. And the final one is Neil Chalk. Neil Chalk. Well done.
That is fantastic. Thank you, Steve. You've probably also cleared out Simon's cupboard as well, so he's going to be really pleased with you there. Guys, thank you all so much for attending. Hope it was worth it for those of you that won prizes, and I'm sure Steve will get them to you very, very shortly. We're going to stay on the line now to chat and to network. I've just got one more slide here. Again, it's kind of thank you very much. We do obviously really pride ourselves on the fact that we deliver great quality R content. Please, we want to grow the community. We want this to be, as Brighton is a growing tech hub, we want to make sure that R's at the heart of it. So do leave us a review. Do come back. If you've got any suggestions for Brighton R, we're all ears as well. we do this in our spare time, so we spend a lot of time, put a lot of effort into it. Any help's appreciated, and we'd love to hear from you. So I'll leave it there. For those that want to stay, keep yourself on mute, turn your cameras on, grab a beer if you want, and stay with us and chat more R. So hopefully there's all sorts of things going on in the chat. I think it's probably worth saying hello to Paul, who's joined us in. So Paul is another one of our Brighton Hour organisers who was very, very busy with all sorts of operations and things this afternoon, but he's managed to come in and join us. So a shout out to Paul over there. Seen him in the chat.
Yeah, hi everyone.
There he is. Mate, you managed to make it in the end. It was very echoey and whistly where you are. Anyone that's still on the line, I don't know if there's any more questions for David or Jack.
David, hi. Thank you for your talk, and congratulations on the win. Well deserved. You mentioned that speaking with Joe Chang was one of the prizes, and I bet that was a fantastic experience to have that one-to-one. But immediately I thought, wait, did you contact Merit? Did you contact the band?
I
bet they get a kick out of this. You should.
I think I tagged them on Twitter when I kind of finished it. But yes, I've not had anything from
There's no interaction there.
Hopefully they've seen it, because I did tag them on Twitter. But yeah, but no, I don't know.
I imagine that conversation would rival that with Joe Chang.
Yeah. I mean, I might put that above. Yeah, no, it was really good to get that session with Joe Chang. Yeah, I don't know if they did something similar this year or not, but yeah, because yeah, he was one of the judges, and yeah, we just had a chat really. He did give me a few tips, but it was mainly just a chat about Shiny really. So yeah, it's really cool. He's a very nice guy, and yeah, he sent me some code afterwards to help improve kind of the responsiveness as to how the app basically improve how the app looks on mobile. So I didn't really optimize it for mobile. It certainly looks better on the laptop than the mobile, but yeah, he helped me improve it a bit. So yeah, it's really nice to get that time with him.
Bit of an awkward.
Very busy.